Hey, we're here with Les Claypool of Primus. Thanks so much for taking the time, man. Green Nagahide's been out for about a week now, and it's a great record.
Thank you very much.
After 12 years of sort of being on hiatus from recording, what made you guys decide to make a record again?
Oh, there were many factors. I mean, I've spent the last 10 years doing various projects with various people in various mediums and records and film and literature and this and that and the next thing. And really wasn't feeling the Primus itch, Would get nostalgic once in a while and go out and do some touring to play the old tunes. But for me, unless it was going to move forward on a creative level, I really wasn't that into it. But then after I finished my last record and we got to talking about various potential other projects, the old P word always comes up.
Right.
And I got to talking to Lur about it, and he was very enthused, very much wanted to do it, very much wanted to do a new record. So it was obvious it wasn't going to happen with Tim. So we got a hold of Jay Lane, who quit the band 1 month before we made our first record. So he was very instrumental in those early records, and as far as writing some of those parts. And of course, he's someone I've worked with on and off for the past 20 years.
Right.
And he came in and we played, and it just felt amazing. We played "Pudding Time" was the first song we played, and Laura and I just looked at each other and we were just grinning like bastards because it just you could feel the chemistry, and so we decided to make a record, and here we are.
Let's talk about the record. It has some elements of old Primus, but it seems to grow a little bit more. And I don't know if is Jay the secret sauce and sort of
The old secret sauce.
Is that? I mean, I just hear Jay playing, and he brings like a different style, I think, to behind the kit, and kind of moves you guys forward a little more. Am I off?
Well, Jay-ski, I mean, for me, like those early records, like Frizzle Fry and whatnot, they have
Right.
that feel, that Jay Lane feel, that a lot of the intricate hi-hat work, and
Right.
there's more of a bounce to the playing,
Yeah.
as opposed to the sort of march drive that we later became known for. So it's hard to not bounce when you're playing with Jay-ski. He's got that Jay-ski bounce, and but also we've got several more years, and more barnacles that we've accumulated, and more
Right.
dirt under our fingernails.
Yeah,
So I think lyrically, it's progressed in a it's evolved.
Yep.
And I think all our playing, it's just very comfortable. For me, any band I'm in, it's no matter who you're with, it's all about the chemistry. If you're
Right.
if you're not firing, if you're not all firing together,
Yeah.
or finding it's like having a conversation. You could have two people that are great at chit-chatting with their peers and whatnot, but may not connect when they sit down together.
Do the songs evolve from jams in the studio, or do you bring lyrics to the table, and then you guys sit around and talk about how you want to approach the songs, or how does that all come together?
We talk about very little. Usually Primus records have been either material that I've brought in, especially the older stuff,
Right.
or jams that we've done in rehearsal or sound checks or whatever. This time I was very insistent that Lur and Jay-ski bring in material. And
Right.
Lur actually, for the first time in Primus history, brought in some completed songs, some of the stronger material on the record, I think, as well. And a couple of songs on the record are based on Jay Lane's drum parts. So there was that element, and then there was the us jamming element, and then I have my notebooks full of rantings and ravings and bits and pieces, and so we just kind of started slapping it all together.
There seems to be a lot more social commentary, maybe, on this record than in past. I mean, I'm thinking about songs like "Who and Foot a Man" has that. I think the "More on TV," like there's combustion. Consumption Engine. Just talking about all that we're consuming and all that we're watching and all that we're selling out. Like it. Maybe I'm off, but it's just a thought.
The social commentary has always been there.
Yeah.
It's just usually voiced through a character,
right?
Like Jerry the race car driver, or one of these other folks that tend to appear not just on Primus records, but on Oysterhead records and my records.
Right.
And we get some of that here with The Last Salmon Man, where
Yeah.
I'm dealing with something that I'm passionate about and have addressed in several songs over the years, which is water diversion and the loss of commercial fisheries in Northern California. And but for me, this record, hence the name Green Naugahyde, is very when I was a kid. I come from a long line of auto mechanics. Nobody had leather couches. That
Right.
was an unheard of thing.
Right.
It was you had a vinyl or Naugahyde couch was
Yeah.
was some fancy schmancy shit there, and so the title Green Naugahyde comes from a line in a song. Yellow Studebaker with a 302 and a seat of green Naugahyde,
Right.
which was my father's pickup. So there's a lot of that sort of blue collar Americana looking observations of media and just elements of social status.
Lee Van Cleef's the song where that lyric comes from, and why pick on him and Clint? Is there? I mean,
Pick on Lee. I was giving him props, man.
where? I mean, it's
Whatever happened to Lee Van Cleef?
Yeah, whatever
Don't forget about Lee. That's the line of the song.
all those spaghetti westerns, I guess, in that green Naugahyde couch, watching them in a drive-in. I mean, is that fond memories of Lee Van Cleef?
Yeah, I mean the whole song is about
Him and
elements
Clint.
of my youth.
Yeah.
And the anchor into that I'm using for the song is Lee Van Cleef. I'm a huge fan of character actors, guys like Strother Martin and Slim Pickens and Walter Brennan,
Right.
and Lee Van Cleef. And when I'm flipping the channels and I see one of these guys, that's where I tend to stop,
Right.
because I enjoy. It makes me smile. It makes me smile to see when I turn around and on stage and we have this big old Lee Van Cleef flashing.
It's funny.
It makes me very happy that I'm able to launch him out into the world again.
Pop culture again.
I don't know how much folks in our audience are into
Well, they'll look
pop
him up.
culture, but
Hopefully, they'll look him up and.
sub pop culture, anti pop culture.
Jilly's on Smack is this wonderful prog rock thing that I would imagine live really comes alive. I mean, it's the longest track on the record, but
Is it
there's-
really?
It's like 640-ish.
That's a hunk of time.
Yeah. Live, does it even go further? I mean, there's bits in it, instrumental parts that probably could be expanded out even more. Is that something that you even care to do in a live setting, or is it stick to what you've put down on tape?
I mean, we tend to let things be flexible as far as the parameters of the arrangement. But Jilly's is one of the stronger songs to perform live, and it's been the most. Now you have iTunes, so you can track all this stuff.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
never
yeah.
tracked that stuff before, but it's the most downloaded song on the record by like at least double.
Really?
Yeah. So folks are kind of gravitating towards
Is that something
one.
that I mean we're now in an era where singles or single songs from records are more important because of the iTunes phenomenon. Is that something that you think about when you're writing a record, or is it more about putting a dozen, 24 songs together and then picking the best out of those for a record?
I don't think about singles. I've never really
Yeah.
thought about singles. We've never really been a singles band. It's always about the piece. In fact, we're playing the record. There was a notion we might, let's maybe play the record in its entirety, because
Right.
it flows for us
Yeah.
to play. And, no, it's going to be a lot of work. And our manager said, well, actually, because prior to the record coming out, we'd been touring Europe and the States. You're already playing every song on the record but 3. So
Right.
we've been playing the record in its entirety every night as a singular piece of music. And it's been working out real well.
When you sequenced the record, did you know that this is the order in which it was coming together, or is it just now that it just feels right so that it makes sense that these songs sort of flow together? Like, how much time did you spend
Well,
putting
whenever
these
I
13 in order?
whenever I put a record together,
Yeah.
I'm always looking at it like how you would assemble a set list, just so
Yeah.
you have this flow and continuity and enough contrast between this and that to keep it hopefully interesting.
We're in Canada, so I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about one of your favorite bands, and that's Rush. And how the hell are we going to get Rush into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I never heard of them. Popular around here, are they?
I mean, how can
Do they need to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
They don't
it's
for me.
It's kind of.
But we see all these other. Donna Summer is apparently getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and we can't get Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee into the Hall of Fame unless we pay for a pass.
I almost think it's a badge of glory to not be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know, wasn't it maybe I'm wrong, but didn't Ozzy turn it down because they got pissed on for so long by a certain element of the media, of rock media, that they were like, well, what the hell? Now you want us to help you sell tickets to your place?
Yeah.
And I think that's the same with Rush. I mean, when I was a kid, I was trying to gobble up as much Rush information as I could, and you hear them way more on the radio now.
Yeah.
They have a much higher profile now than they've ever had. All of a sudden, it's cool to like Rush.
Yeah.
Whereas, we Rush fans spent a lot of years going, I like Rush. Unless you were with other Rush fans, you're like, yeah. So it's just funny to me. But it makes perfect sense. They've done what they've done for so many years and not really paid attention to what else has been going on to an extent. And they're reaping the benefits of that. They have a massively huge fan base that's extraordinarily loyal and respect them for just doing their thing.
Right.
And I'm sure, knowing Geddy, he'd probably rather be in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, probably. That's right.
So,
what are you listening to when you're not making your own music, or are there bands from the Bay Area that you're into, or are there bands from elsewhere that you're listening to now that you want to give a shout out to?
Whoa, look at that, I'm busting a button.
Or the guy that sold you that burger. I mean,
yeah, that last burger. That cannoli last night took me down. I have an iPod that is chock full of old Western swing.
Really?
And that's pretty much all I've been listening to lately. I've been turning my son on. My son is actually very receptive to my eccentric musical tastes, and more is my daughter. It wants to have nothing to do with it. It's all about whatever's popular at the time. So I'm happy to say I turned him on to Eddie Cochran, and he's very excited about it. So
cool. Thanks so much for taking the time, man. Good luck with the record. I can't wait to see the show in its entirety tonight. And
is that tonight? Holy moly!
Yeah. Get practicing, I guess.
Yep. Get to sleeping.
And thanks a lot, man. Thanks for taking the time.
No worries.